today's video, we'll be looking at Learning Target 1G, which is rates, ratios, and proportions. To begin, let's look at what is a rate. A rate is a quantity measured with respect to another quantity. Some common ones that you may already know of are miles per hour, words per minute, miles per gallon, grade point average, dollars per pound, and feet per second. A ratio is a relation between two similar things. So for instance, there are 2 teachers to every 30 students, 32 males for every 28 females, 4 cats for every 7 dogs, $2,000 in debt to every $3,000 in income, 3 feet for each yard, and 1,760 yards for each mile. A proportion is a relationship between 2 ratios. For example, 1/2 is equal to 2/4, which is also equal to 3/6. Those are proportionate fractions. Same thing with 2/5 is equal to 4/10, which is also equal to 6/15. The way that they work together is we use rates, ratios, and proportions to convert from one unit of measure to another, to create usable fractions that will help in simplifying equations, and to find unit rates for the sake of comparing ratios. One of the big things that we use in algebra is the identity property. The identity property is used a lot, and it's very important that you understand this as we move forward into simplifying expressions and equations. What the identity property states that any fraction multiplied by its reciprocal is equal to 1. Here's an example of how we use the identity property. In the equation 2/3 x plus 12 is equal to 36. First step that we would do is subtract 12 from both sides, so we would end up with 2/3 x is equal to 24. In order to get that x by itself, though, we must multiply by the reciprocal. When we multiply by that reciprocal, we're left with the 1x, and when we multiply with it on the other side, we get that x equals 36. That idea of using the identity property in order to eliminate fractions and isolate variables is something that we use quite a bit throughout algebra. The big focus of this learning target is on converting units of measure. Yesterday in class you received a pink conversion sheet that will help you in doing many of these conversions. First thing we're going to look at is converting units of measure. So we're going to convert 3 gallons to tablespoons. Using your conversion sheet, we see that there are 128 fluent ounces in 1 gallon, and that there are 2 teaspoons in 1 fluent ounce. When you set up this equation, it's important to note that the way that you eliminate labels is by having it in the numerator and the denominator. So as you can see, gallons appear first in the numerator. So since we can eliminate it by putting it in the denominator. So notice that these 2 gallons will eliminate. Same thing with fluent ounces. We have it in the numerator here. So we know that it must go in the denominator when we set up the other ratio of this 2 tablespoons to 1 fluent ounce. Then to solve and figure out exactly how many teaspoons there are in 3 gallons, you simply multiply straight across and do any division as necessary. And in this case, we end up that there is 768 tablespoons in 3 gallons. Let's look at another example. We want to convert 10 miles to centimeters. We start out with what it's asking us to convert, which is 10 miles. We put it over 1 since it's not a ratio. We then can eliminate. There are 1,760 yards in 1 mile. We get that from using the conversion sheet. The mile label can eliminate. Same thing with the 3 feet per 1 yard. Yards can eliminate. 12 inches in 1 foot. Now the feet eliminate. And 2.54 centimeters in each inch. So the inches can eliminate. The only label that's left is centimeters. So we know we're getting to where we want because we are converting to centimeters. Multiply straight across. Do any division as necessary. and we get that there is 1,609,344 centimeters in 10 miles. When it comes to converting rates, things like words per minute, miles per hour, instead of just starting with 1 in the denominator, you now have a label to go with it. So with words per minute, if we're converting 30 words per minute to words per hour, we have 30 words for 1 minute. We know that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. The minutes can eliminate because there is 1 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator. We do our multiplication and any division as necessary, and we end up with 1,800 words per hour. The last one we'll look at is if we want to convert 70 miles per hour into feet per minute. Again, we're going to start out with the 70 miles in 1 hour. I want to get rid of my hours first, so I know that there is 60 minutes in 1 hour. Since my hours are in the denominator here, it has to go in the numerator there in order for the hours to cancel out. Now I'm going to start working on the distance piece. So since miles are in my numerator here, I'm going to put miles in my denominator here. I know that there's 1,760 yards in 1 mile, and that there are 3 feet in 1 yard in order to eliminate yards. When I do my multiplication straight across, I get on the top that there are 369,600 feet. On the bottom, there are still 60 minutes. When I do that division, the 369,600 divided by 60, I get that there is 6,160 feet per minute. This idea of converting rates is very important. It's something that we will be focusing on in class for the next couple days. So make sure if you have any questions about how to set up these conversions or how to do the math involved, that you come to class with that tomorrow.